Hey gang, it's JC and this is your Daily Dose for Tuesday, September 7th, 2010, a cooperative venture with Mind Active in beautiful downtown Brentwood. We're available on your mobile phone right now. We have archives at the top of the page, Dave Murray's weather forecast down in the corner, the audio on iTunes, and here we go with our 15-month paid vacation. I wanted a game just a little bit too much on Friday night. That's how I started my long Labor Day weekend. I wanted it just a little bit too much. And so the first inning, the ball was going in the dirt. Going in the dirt, I was overthrowing. Then I came back in the second inning, struck out the side, pitched 3 innings. We ended up losing. I over-prepared. I wanted the game too much. We'll get them next time. And it appears the Cardinals are going to tease us a little bit before they finally cave in and break our hearts. Well, isn't that nice? By the way, up in Milwaukee, early yesterday morning, Labor Day morning, big storms came through the Milwaukee area. The problem was the rain was not in the forecast, and they left the roof open on the retractable dome stadium there at Miller Park. And so it rains all over the field, and somebody says, why didn't you close the roof? And they're like, there wasn't anybody there to close it. There wasn't anybody at a Major League ballpark in the middle of a thunderstorm who said, hey, maybe we ought to close the roof. Nobody was there. Boy, does that remind me of Milwaukee. I lived there for one summer. You know, the infield looked like, like there had been a tractor pull. There's a bird up there that's really annoying me. It's not the birds, it's the frogs or the dogs barking or something. Had a nice time at the St. Nicholas Greek Orthodox Church Greek Fest over the weekend. I've never had a complaint at this thing until for this year. Now I know because they have to cook so much food that they have to cook some of it in advance, and I bought one of those $10 boxes of Greek pastries, took it home, and everything was stale and dried out. So, what are you going to do? My $10 is a donation at this point. We saw Heart Saturday night, Family Arena. Great show. The girls can still play and can still sing. We've been sort of following this ongoing saga of Stephen D.C., who left the area a few years back, and the stories are getting more and more horrific. And I've directed you to the media website, stlmedia.net, stlmedia.net. And there's a follow-up story today that basically reports what I didn't think anybody was going to report, and that is a sort of a shocking revelation that when these two clowns got here in 1991, they arrived as a couple. And, it's not that there's anything particularly sordid about that. I just think that people would be surprised to learn that. And also that there was an issue of age, considering one was considerably older than the other, and the other one was a minor. And that's where it starts to get a little gnarly, but you can read up on it on stlmedia.net. Watched Bottle Shock again last night. Man, if you're into wine, particularly, the Napa, Sonoma area and everything like that, it's such a good movie. And I mentioned it because when it came out 2 years ago, it basically flew under the radar. I don't know what happened. But, I mean, it's a great cast with Bradley Whitford from The West Wing and Alan Rickman, who's never given a bad performance in his life, Eliza Dushku and Chris Pine, who is in the Star Trek movie, and Bill Pullman, who I can't decide the way he acts. He's either a great actor or a terrible actor, and I can't decide. But it's a great movie about the California wine industry blossoming in the mid-1970s. And if you're into wine, and if you've always thought about taking that trip to Napa, as we did 2 weeks ago for the very first time, or if you go there all the time, Bottle Shock is on again on Showtime on Saturday, and I highly recommend the movie. As I said, we watched it again last night, thoroughly enjoyed it. Well, they have rules for public relations for big corporations. If you're trying to get away with something, one of the rules is do it on a Friday because the media coverage isn't as good. And a lot of people don't even read the papers on Friday, especially on Saturday. And by Sunday, it's old news and it gets buried. And oh, by the way, if you're going to pull something off dastardly and you're a big corporation and you can do it on a Friday and you can do it on a Friday going into a long holiday weekend, even better. It's nice to know that Karen learned something over there at Channel 5 because Ameren UE is petitioning the Public Service Commission for another rate increase. Now, they just got a $14 million rate increase back in May, and now they want another $53 million. 2 in 1 year. I'm just saying, on Channel 5 gets funnier and funnier by the people that they have on, and I mean sort of unintentionally funny. They had jc'sdailydose on last night, and Lisa Zigman, and after she did this, it dawned on me, well, that's right, she didn't get here, I don't think she got here until the early 90s, so it's possible that she didn't ever know who jc'sdailydose was, which might have been the reason why when she introduced the piece, she introduced him as Zip Zeppa. I guess you just assumed that the R must have been silent because nobody's name could actually be jc'sdailydose. So she said Zip Zeppa, and I'm sure everybody in the control room had a laugh. We're hearing that possibly tomorrow will be the day that American Idol is going to finally cough up a lung and tell us who the judges are going to be on this season's episodes. It's sounding like Jennifer Lopez is back in the mix. Steven Tyler has been rumored for quite some time. I'm assuming Randy Jackson is going to stay just because his ass is wedged in the chair and they can't get him out. Some British travel agency did a survey and has determined that the prettiest women in the world are from Turkey. The least pretty women in the world are from Great Britain, and the second least pretty women are from the United States of America. Go get that guy. The original cello player for the Electric Light Orchestra, a guy by the name of Mike Edwards, is just minding his own business, driving his car down some road. And I don't know if you've ever seen these big bales of hay. Now, you think of bales of hay as being square, but what they do now is they also roll them. So you got a big thing that looks like a chicken spadini or something like that. It's a big rolled thing. And he's driving along in his car, and a 1,300-pound bale of hay somehow starts rolling down the hill, and you guessed it, he was 62. Robert Schimmel is one of those guys who they called a New York comedian, which is a fancy way of saying he wasn't funny to anybody else outside of New York City. He was rough and profane, and they called him a genius, and I called him unfunny, and did the Howard Stern show a lot. So his 19-year-old daughter is driving him and his 11-year-old son in their car the other day. The car swerves to avoid an accident, flips over a couple of times, and he dies. But, I mean, in 98 he had a heart attack. In 2000 was diagnosed with lymphoma. In January, he got hepatitis C from a bad blood transfusion. He's got 5 kids. 1 died of cancer at age 11, and this guy now checks out at age 60. Prescription painkillers. It's the new scandal in these here United States of America. The antidepressants and prescription painkillers are being abused at an all-time high in this country. The past 2 decades, overdoses that have led to death have gone up by 500%. For the first time in 15 states and the District of Columbia, prescription drug overdoses have passed car accidents as the leading cause of accidental death. About 70% of people abusing are baby boomers. By 12th grade, though, 10% of teens say they have used Vicodin. New Princeton study. Attention, everybody. Making more money does not make you more happy. Well, it does up until you reach about $75,000 a year, and then at $76,000, they say it doesn't help anymore. It doesn't make you more happy. It just shows that some of the dumbest people in the world are at major universities like Princeton. The Pew Research Center, which cranks out a lot of good information we use here on the Daily Dose, says that 25% of Americans were jobless at some point during the recession. 3 in 5 say that the older job was a lot better. Only 2 in 10 are making more money now than they were with the old job. Only 1 in 4 got better benefits, but 80% say they're just happy to have a job at all. About 1 in 3 have been laid off twice. In other words, they got laid off, they got a new job, and they got laid off from that. 1 in 3, and 1 in 6 have now been laid off 3 times. All right, it is Celebrity Tuesday. We do it every Tuesday here on the Daily Dose, and today we're going to talk about Robert Redford. And again, I always make it clear that when I do these Celebrity Tuesdays, it's somebody that I actually got to know, not somebody who just interviewed and for 5 or 10 minutes and then was gone. In the particular case of Robert Redford, this was somebody who I got a chance to observe, I guess is the word, over a period of several months, like I guess it was 4 months. When I was in Buffalo, New York in 1983 and part of 1984, they filmed the movie The Natural in Buffalo at the old War Memorial Stadium where O.J. Simpson had a lot of his big games, his biggest games as a matter of fact. And the place was falling down so badly that the production crew for The Natural had to come in about 3 months early and actually do upgrades on War Memorial Stadium to make it look like it was 1939. They had to upgrade it to look like it was the 30s. But anyhow, they needed this whole ballpark sort of portray the New York Knights. A guy by the name of Caleb Deschanel, whose name meant nothing to us at that time, but would go on to sprout a couple of kids that became very big in show business. He was one of the producer-directors on the movie. There was a guy who was dating Morgan Fairchild, who was the chief cinematographer, and she was in town all the time. It was like Bye-Bye Birdie every time Morgan Fairchild would come to town. In Buffalo, people got so excited they just about jumped out of their damn skin. I remember the kid who plays the young Robert Redford on the farm. They just recruited a local boy, and one of the TV stations wanted to get a look at him so badly that they camped out in front of his house in an unmarked van. And when the kid came out to take the garbage out in his swimsuit, they got video of that and then put it on the 11 o'clock news. The place went crazy while they were filming the movie. Robert Redford, even though it was a baseball movie, used to show up with a football every day. Quite the athlete, Robert Redford, and he would throw the ball around. Now the rule was that you couldn't talk to Robert Redford unless he talked to you first, and then you could answer him. If he motion to you, I will throw you this football, you could play catch with him, but you just couldn't, like, strike up a conversation with him or just, like, pick up a ball and throw it. Hey, Bob, catch. It didn't sort of work that way. All of the hitting, throwing, running, all the athleticism in The Natural, he did himself. He was, as I said, quite the athlete, so they didn't have any stunt doubles or anything. That was him doing everything, and I think people would be very surprised to learn that, but I watched him do it every day. We were there every day for 3 or 4 months watching what was going on out there and watching them film the movie. Now, when they were all finished filming, they had a night for Robert Redford, and he showed up, and thousands of people showed up just to basically cheer, and they gave him the key to the city and all that sort of stuff. But he was very gracious about it. So then in 1994, I went to New York to interview Robert Redford for a movie that he directed called Quiz Show with Ray Fiennes and John Turturro and Rob Morrow. Pretty good movie, by the way. And I remember asking him, why should people care about the fact that in the 1950s some guy cheated on a game show? And he gave a very interesting answer, very long answer about the loss of innocence in this country and everything like that. This guy is strictly business. He is cordial, but only to the point that he needs to be, because some people would call him aloof. I don't think so at all. I just think he's a very serious guy and serious about his career and his business. He is absolutely uncompromising and not interested in any of that stupid Hollywood shit or anything like that, and just devastatingly handsome, even at an advancing age. In 1994, I think he was approaching 70 years old. He still looked great. It's a little on the skinny side, but Robert Redford, pretty cool guy, and I was very, very happy to have several encounters with him. All right, moving on here. Jeff Foxworthy turned 52 years old over the weekend, and if you already knew that, you might be a redneck. Also on this date in 1998, Mark McGwire's steroids beat Sammy Sosa's steroids, not to mention his corked bat, as Big Mac tied Roger Maris with home run number 61. The update on both players, Sammy is currently white, and McGwire is producing dazzling offensive numbers as hitting coach for the St. Louis Cardinals. Video Village today, the final 2 parts of that Wheel of Fortune series, Pat and Vanna, who had no idea they'd still be working on Wheel of Fortune after all this time. And the Wayback Machine is, hey Vern, know what I mean? Remember Ernest T. Worrell and the Cleed Gas commercials? We have that for you. JC's Eye Candy, got some pictures of Pat and Vanna from back in the old days. I'm going to go upstairs now to enjoy every sandwich, as Warren Zevon would say. Today's the 7th anniversary of the passing of the excitable boy. The baby will be 1 year old in a couple of weeks. She took her first real steps and is saying hi. I'm going to get going. As they say, things could be worse. That's it, the Daily Dose for Tuesday, September 7th, 2010, a cooperative venture with Mind Active in beautiful downtown Brentwood. In the meantime, we've beaten this one to death. Have a good one. See you later. Bye.